Good morning. Princey just woke up from his nappies. He's looking out the window at I don't know what. There's nothing out there. Tiffany Shante. You're not getting in that window. If you want to go get in a window, go get in the big window. Okay. Hello. Good morning. How are you all doing today? Our day started early, about 4:45. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it is. Uh-huh. Mhm. I was just fawning over and Luter's family members' cats in the Discord because I love dogs, but God did her big one when she made me a cat lady. Yeah. Um, I thought we'd have a morning live. So I had some time. I'm procrastinating. I'm procrastinating. I have to figure out what I'm gonna put on that wall. I have to do the dishes, but I have to figure out what I'm gonna put on that wall back there, and I can't decide. So, yeah. I thought we'd just sit down, have a little chat, see about what's going on today in the news this morning. The Trump administration continues to take a big ol' L on the killing of Alex Preddy. Donald Trump came out this morning and said, no, he's not an assassin. He wasn't an assassin. Of course, he wasn't an assassin. Uh, Continues to say he has the utmost confidence in Kristi Noem. Whatever, bro. People on both sides of the aisle continue to call for some kind of action against said Kristi Noem. Unions are standing up. Second Amendment groups are not happy. Rand Paul, who we talked about briefly yesterday, has scheduled, I can't remember what the committee is, but there's a committee hearing next month that's going to pull ICE, Border Patrol, etc., in for testimony. He came out this morning, pointed out something. Why is the agent still on duty? The agent should not be on duty pending the outcome of a full investigation. And therein lies the issue. What investigation? Who is going to do it? Who is the public going to have confidence in to do it? And what is it going to cover? So, as I understand it, this shooting was done at the hands of Border Patrol agents, which are technically not ICE agents. We're going to get into a few documents here in a second. I just remembered. Let me populate those. Homeland Security investigations are the ones who are currently leading the investigation. So the question becomes, what is the scope of the investigation or investigations that are being done by the feds? Which agencies are doing them, and do the people have confidence that they will be fair and impartial investigations? It has been reported by numerous reputable outlets that and I talked about this last night, currently the HSI investigation is solely around use of force policy. If you have ever been involved in or on the periphery of really intently scrutinizing the process of a law enforcement involved, I'm using the most general term possible from local to fed. But if you've ever been involved or intently observed what happens in the wake of a law enforcement involved shooting, there are several different steps of investigation that are done. One of the most typical is a use of force investigation. Did the typically officer, okay, in this case, agent, follow policy? That's not a criminal investigation. Know that. The feds came out very early on and said they're not going to do an investigation, and the FBI is not investigating. So, because there's nothing to see here, right? They already put out their bias across the board. There's nothing to see here. He was a domestic terrorist. He approached agents brandishing a weapon, had multiple magazines. They talked all kinds of crazy, dysfactual nonsense about this man. You can expect to get shot if you brandish a weapon at a protest or approach officers with a weapon, all kinds of crazy nonsense. So they were quick to say the news has said it was within hours. It really felt like it was within minutes of the shooting happening that they were putting out bunk statements. So currently, right now, the only investigation that we know is happening is a use of force policy investigation. It would appear that the agent is still on duty, which is what Rand Paul, was very unhappy about and issued a very forceful statement about this morning. And again, that dude is so frustrating, but he's right on this point. If you're following policy and procedure, that person should not be on active duty. So, all of that has happened this morning. We are waiting for the judge to rule on what I have termed local law enforcement via Fed law enforcement, to issue a more permanent ruling on the lawsuit that they filed the day of the shooting. This is the State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension and the Hennepin County Attorney's Office filed an emergency TRO. Were granted that with regards to evidence. So we're still waiting for the judge to come out with the emergency TRO was granted. So we're waiting for the judge's next action on that. And that docket, so they had a hearing yesterday, 2:00 in the afternoon. There were a couple different hearings, a couple different rulings on a couple different cases that have come out. Um, that docket continued to fly pretty actively throughout the day. And so there are some documents that I want us to take a look at real quick because they give us insight. These are all declarations and they are all by law enforcement. Let me see if I can remember. I believe we have one from CPB. We have one from Department of Homeland Security, and then we have one from an FBI agent, I think, whose name has been redacted. Let me see if I'm right about that. Yeah, this is the FBI agent. So let's start with the FBI agent, then we'll get to Nicki in a minute. I used to work in journalism. I've covered them. Matter of fact, let's not pretend that there aren't Second Amendment marches where they go to their local municipality and they get a permit and they gather in your town or your city. They have their open carry, little whatever exhibit. They march from one place to another, openly brandishing their weapons. One of the most absurd statements that could have been made. Laughable, and really has pissed off a lot of people on the right side of the aisle. Kyle Rittenhouse issued a statement this morning. Thank you for reminding me. Yep, Kyle Rittenhouse issued a statement this morning. Since everybody want to bring the man name up, I'm not blaming you. But yes, immediately, as soon as they said, you can't do this, you can't do that, I've never heard of this, I've never heard of that, people immediately said, Kyle Rittenhouse, anybody? All over social media. It's been in the news. His name is front and center in this, and he issued a statement this morning. Carry your gun everywhere. It's your constitutional right. I swear to God, I saw it on let me see if I'm trying to remember what device I was on because it was very early in the morning. But I posted it in the Discord. And then I also just cleared my, oh, nope, there it is. I must have, I was going to say, I just cleared my downloads folder. Anybody want to guess how many files I had in my downloads folder that I just cleared out this morning? I see you playing with me. Oh, you guys are so sweet. You keep guessing. I'll read this little bit from the morning live blog. This was either from CNN or the Associated Press or the BBC. Those are the ones that I've got open right now. So this came from one of those, okay? Kyle Rittenhouse has urged gun owners to carry everywhere in the wake of criticism from the Trump administration over Alex Preddy having a gun on his person when he was fatally shot by federal immigration officials in Minnesota on Saturday. Carry everywhere, Rittenhouse wrote on X. It is your right. No, that's too low, too low. Nope, that's too low, too low. Too high, too high, too high. Closer, also closer, too high. We're talking about how many files did I clear out of my did I archive? Because it's not like things where I maybe deleted 10 things. So these are things that have been archived. How many files did Absa move out of her downloads folder this morning? Booyah. This is the answer. 2000. Yeah. Mhm. 2,721 of those were individual docket files, and then there were also some folders, that were compilations of docket files, so probably 850, 900 were docket files. Yeah. I mean, it was like 1,900, but I was like, "That's 2,000." That's 2,000, and I was checking the properties. I created a little file for it on my little archive drive, and I was checking the properties, like, how many, because 'cause I'm just cutting things in mass, organize things by, by type, group things by type, cutting in mass and sending it over, and I'm checking the properties. How many things have I sent over here? Yeah, it was 1,900 and something. I was like, "God damn." That would freak a lot of people out because that's just my downloads folder. But I operate out of my downloads folder, like, a lot. It's like there's almost no point in putting things somewhere else because it's like download, open it immediately, and they're usually a reference document. So, it's like I don't really need to put it anywhere else. It's usually put it there, draw it up immediately. Um so, yeah, screenshots, there were a lot of screenshots. This is a screenshot. I take a lot of screenshots on my devices throughout the day. So, there were a lot of hundreds of screenshots and a couple hundred videos. Yeah, my computer is like, "Thank you. Thank you so much for taking that off my back." That's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. But a, uh I've got an external hard drive that is channel specific that is probably at half a terabyte. I think it's like after today's moving things over, uh, it's probably sitting at about half a terabyte. Yep. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. But yes, so, yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse had something to say. It's really sad when that's the only relevance to your life. Well, I'm not a cloud person. First of all, my devices aren't old. What's the matter with you? Don't you be insulting my devices, okay? I'm just playing with you. But I'm not a cloud person. I fucking hate the cloud. Okay? I do not like the clouds. Do I have a cloud? Yes. Do I use it? Yes. Do I like them? No. I don't. Um, but for work, I definitely have to use a cloud. So, but for me, no. Where is my file? What physical thing is my file on? Is it on this computer? Is it on an external hard drive? So forth. Uh, cloud, fuck a cloud. Oh, that was last night. I had to stop and think, was I here already this morning? No, that was last night. Good to see y'all. Slap that like button, share this live. Let's get back to this document. So again, we are looking at 3 declarations from 3 different federal agencies in relation to what happened in the aftermath of, okay, this is not specific to the shooting itself, but what happened in the aftermath of the shooting with regard to gathering evidence. And again, they filed these yesterday, I believe after the hearing for the judge's consideration. The state has also filed some more declarations and exhibits onto the docket, but these are informative in terms of what it is that they're saying under, I swear under penalty of perjury. This is what I know about what happened with regard to evidence. It's always nice to see that. The, but bump. Y'all, I swear you all are so damn smart. I'm bulletproof. So I'm going to talk about this in a minute because I don't think that this is accurate. I think things have been lost in translation and they're having a little bit of a meltdown overseas. Okay. Not surprising. It's Milan. They're being a little dramatic, but we'll come back to it. Don't let me forget. Okay. Sacred high five. Hi, Queen Medina. It's good to see you, beautiful. I have a tech guy. So he's constantly feeding me, suggestions. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. Yes, you can. You can have your own server. You can have your own a lot of things. I'm aware. I am not a dumbass. Okay? My dad was an extremely successful engineer to the degree of which you couldn't even imagine, okay? My dad built medical equipment for outer space and then also for the mere mortals on Earth as well. Patented several things. Built computers at home. Computers that started off as big as a room. Yeah, yeah. So, I know. I'm aware. I appreciate people letting me know that there are options. I know there are options. I like the options that I use. And if I decide to go to something else, which I have explored, and I've talked with other content creators as well about making sure that we can maintain a platform, right? Outside of the First Amendment suppression that is happening on platforms in the United States of America. So it's an ongoing, constant conversation. You know where that coin purse is. Thank you, beautiful. Appreciate the support. Kicking us off to get to that good goal today. Oh, yes, I'm forward thinking. That's my job as a strategist, is to predict problems. Okay, they're gonna come for the YouTube platform at some point in time. And what are we going to do in our corner of this little universe to make sure that people can still access our content? Oh, yes. Okay, FBI agent. Okay, and again, let's not mistake, there are people that are new to this and don't know that I'm actually true to this. Let's not mistake my reading of these documents as ABSA has faith in the system or is here advocating for the system or blah, 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 blah. That's not what's happening here. They the ones swearing under penalty of perjury, not me. This information is relevant now and it's going to be relevant in the future. So let's see what it is that they're holding themselves to on the court record, okay? Let alone what they're saying in public statements. I, redacted, hereby declare as follows. I am redacted with the Federal Bureau of Investigation assigned to the Minneapolis, Minnesota field office. One of the teams I currently oversee is the Minneapolis Evidence Response Team, ERT. Evidence Response Team, ERT, okay? ERT. The mission of the ERT is to, yeah, I'm just the reader, okay? I'm just the reader and the pontificator. Yeah. The mission of the ERT is to collect, document, and preserve evidence in an expert, competent, systematic way when conducting crime scene examinations and complex searches. The ERT utilizes complex state-of-the-art techniques to gather evidence and employ a system of crime scene management, evidence recognition, and proper collection techniques when processing crime scenes. The statements contained in this declaration are based upon my personal knowledge and information made available to me in the course of my official duties. Second contribution to the goal today. Thank you, beautiful. Appreciate you. Mods, keep them links in tight rotation. And the cat list. Them babies need food. Oscar be eating me out of house and home. That baby is so slight. Goodness gracious. Okay. On January 24, 2026, at the request of the Department of Homeland Security and at the direction of FBI Executive Management, FBI personnel, to include members of the Minneapolis ERT, responded to a shooting in or around 26th Street and Nicollet Avenue in Minneapolis, Minnesota, to collect evidence related to that shooting. FBI personnel also collected evidence related to the shooting from other locations in the Minneapolis area. The FBI Minneapolis ERT adhered to the FBI standard 12-step process for evidence collection. However, due to the scene becoming volatile, the 12-step ERT process was adapted for the safety of personnel. Per FBI policies, procedures, and practices, all evidence that was collected was transported back to the FBI Minneapolis field office. Specifically, evidence was packaged by trained evidence collectors wearing the appropriate personal protective equipment. The evidence was packaged in the appropriate packaging material prior to being sealed with tamper-proof evidence tape. I did say the other day, what did they do? Stuff bullet casings in their pockets and walk away from the scene? They're saying, no, that's not what happened. The evidence of which the FBI has maintained custody is preserved in a secure evidence room with controlled access in the Minneapolis office. I love words, and those are very distinctive words. The evidence of which the FBI has maintained custody. Reading between the lines, this does not preclude that another agency or agents from other agencies picked up evidence or handled evidence or took evidence from the scene. This is why State BCA and the Hennepin County Attorney's Office sued everybody for obstruction of justice and preservations of evidence. So, the evidence of which the FBI has maintained custody is preserved in a secure evidence room with controlled access in the Minneapolis field office. Neither the ERT nor anyone in the Minneapolis field office has conducted any analysis, examinations, or interpretations of the collected evidence. The FBI has not altered or destroyed the collected evidence. The FBI will continue to preserve the collected evidence in accordance with the FBI's policies and procedures for evidence retention. In no event will any collected evidence be destroyed before resolution of this investigation. What investigation? Which investigation? What is the scope of said investigation? Right? He does not say the FBI is investigating. He says the FBI collected evidence. We remain in possession of it. We're not going to do anything to it until the investigation is complete. Well, rhetorically, again, which investigation? So this is dated again yesterday. This is the one from the FBI agent. I'm not reading these in any particular order because I didn't read them ahead of time. I just glanced at them. This is a declaration of a gentleman named Mark M. Zito. He works for the Department of Homeland Security. I, Mark M. Zito, hereby declare as follows. I am employed by the United States Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Homeland Security Investigations as the special agent in charge of the HSI St. Paul office. I'm receiving information here about something else that we were going to talk about with regard to Milan as I'm reading this, and I'm correcting myself. And I may have misspoken in the Discord as well. So Department of Homeland Security is the umbrella. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is next. Homeland Security Investigations next. And then Special Agent in Charge of Homeland Security Investigations, St. Paul office. Okay, interesting. That's a little organizational chart tree in paragraph form. I have been acting in this position since November 2025. In this capacity, I oversee HSI's St. Paul workforce, which consists of special agents, criminal analysts, and mission support personnel throughout Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. Prior to my current assignment, I was a special agent in charge of HSI Kansas City, providing executive leadership, direction, and supervision of over 380 special agents, task force officers. Okay, blah, 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 blah. He's giving his qualifications. Interesting. ICE is the largest investigative branch of DHS and is charged with enforcement of more than 400 federal statutes. HSI employs special agents who, among other things, are customs officers. Okay, so let's just pull a caveat from this. ICE is going to Milan. ICE is going to Milan. And we'll talk about it more later. It is the HSI division, which I thought in the organizational chart was above ICE, but apparently it's nestled under. So are these enforcement officers? No, it's an investigative unit. Okay. And apparently they've always been involved, but now, of course, because of the current circumstance, it's catching national attention and people are upset overseas. Okay. Anyway, we'll come back to that later. Under this authority, HSI special agents may make an arrest without a warrant for any offense against the United States committed in the officer's presence or for a felony cognizable under the laws of the United States committed outside the officer's presence if the officer has reasonable grounds to believe that the person to be arrested has committed or is committing a felony. Well, we're all learning a lot here, aren't we? I am familiar with the complaint filed in this case and the temporary restraining order issued by this court. This declaration is submitted in support of defendant's opposition to plaintiff's motion for a temporary restraining order. And this is based on, again, this person's personal knowledge in their capacity. On January 25, the Office of the Executive Associate Director, ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations, disseminated to all ICE ERO personnel a broadcast message and a copy of the temporary restraining order issued in the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension versus Nome case. On January 25, that office disseminated to all personnel a broadcast message and a copy of the temporary restraining order issued in the case. I am aware of a shooting involving a U.S. Customs and Border Protection. So again, CBP personnel on January 24, 2026. The shooting occurred near the intersection of Nicollet Avenue and West 26th Street in Minneapolis, resulting in the death of one individual. ICE officials were not involved in the shooting at issue, but did assist in securing the scene after the incident. ICE personnel consisting of ERO and HSI arrived at approximately 9:42 a.m. local time. This response consisted of assisting with the maintenance of a perimeter to secure the scene of an active investigation. This support was necessary in light of the increasing number of protesters gathered at the location of the shooting. All recorded information made or received by the ICE agents and officers responding to secure the scene after the incident would be federal records subject to the Federal Records Act and ICE policies relating to federal records and information management. Per ICE directive, all ICE employees and contractors must retain such records pursuant to applicable records retention schedules and must complete annual records management training. A copy of ICE Directive 4007.1 is attached as Exhibit A. In addition, ICE agents generating records in connection with responding to the scene of a critical incident, such as a shooting, are trained in proper reporting, documenting, and preserving of evidence. HSI is the lead investigatory entity reviewing the use of force encounter at issue in this case. HSI agents tasked with this investigation are required to preserve all evidence collected, including physical evidence collected by other federal agencies, which are then properly transferred to the custody of HSI. So now they're contradicting each other. This is why we read these things. The FBI said, we're in possession of evidence. We're keeping it. We're not getting rid of it. It will be in our possession until the end of this investigation. Here comes this dude. HSI agents tasked with this investigation are required to preserve all evidence collected, including physical evidence collected by other federal agencies, which are then properly transferred to the custody of HSI. While HSI is leading the investigation into the shooting, you're not leading the investigation into the shooting. You're leading the investigation into the policy of use of force. There's a difference. And I'm going to go ahead and inject that. While HSI is leading this investigation into the shooting, the Federal Bureau of Investigation initially responded to the scene of the shooting to collect evidence, including a mobile phone and firearm belonging to the deceased. As of this filing, the mobile phone collected by the FBI relating to the shooting was turned over to HSI. HSI will continue to collect evidence relating to the shooting using various investigative methods and processes. As criminal investigators, HSI special agents are trained and experienced in collection and preservation of evidence in connection with criminal investigations. HSI special agents routinely participate in the criminal discovery process and are well versed in the government's constitutional obligations when cases culminate in a prosecution. ICE policies provide stringent requirements for the documentation, retention, and accountability of investigative records and evidence. The HSI Case Management Handbook requires HSI to record all activity and document all information using case files. Case files are electronic records of all information that pertains to a case, including but not limited to subject records, documents, hours, statistics, and the select media that is associated with the case. Additionally, the HSI Evidence Handbook requires documentation of seizure and chain of custody for evidence, as well as the transfer of custody of seized property evidence using DHS forms, blah, 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 blah. Original documentation must remain with the evidence as the evidence moves physical locations or transfers between custodians. All seized evidence must be retained until the completion of all trial, appellate, or other judicial proceedings, or if the defendant becomes a fugitive prior to the adjudication of the case. Okay. And then this last one that we got here, Jeffrey Egerton works with Border Protection. I, Jeffrey R. Egerton, hereby declare as follows. I am employed by U.S. Customs and Border Protection, CBP. I always want to say CPB. CBP is charged with enforcing the nation's immigration laws in order to protect national security, blah, 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 blah. I am the acting executive director for the Investigative Operations Directorate within CBP's Office of Professional Responsibility, located in Washington, D.C. In this in this role, I oversee over 500 criminal investigators who are charged with investigating criminal and administrative misconduct of CBP employees and contractors. Additionally, my office is charged with oversight responsibilities that include the review of use of force incidents involving CBP employees. Background on him. He's been acting as the executive director of the Investigative Operations Directorate since August 2025. Familiar with the complaint filed in this case. Familiar with the temporary restraining order. For Operation Metro Surge, my office deployed 12 to 14 agents to respond and investigate critical incidents, to include use of force, assaults on federal agents, and allegations of employee misconduct, and provide protection to senior CBP officials. The statements contained in this declaration are based upon my personal knowledge, reasonable inquiry, and information made available to me in the course of my official duties. So he goes through again. We got the notice of a legal hold and the TRO. I'm aware of the shooting that occurred. When there is a CBP involved shooting, OPR is usually involved in any subsequent investigation, whether as lead or as an assisting entity. OPR is assisting Immigration and Customs Enforcement Homeland Security investigations, as they are the lead investigative entity. OPR was not involved in gathering evidence at the scene. The body-worn camera footage for the involved CBP law enforcement personnel is preserved. Policy requires CBP officers and agents who activate a body-worn camera to document the existence of recorded data consistent with their component standard operating procedures. We talked about this yesterday. There was reporting yesterday that body cam footage exists. Any recorded data that may have material or probative value or may have any bearing on any criminal, administrative, civil, or other legal proceeding must be preserved for 75 years. The body-worn camera footage uploaded by the involved CBP law enforcement personnel is in a category that preserves it for 75 years. This is triggering something for me in the back of my brain, because there are policies on the Fed books about things that are retained but also automatically withheld from public view. Recorded information made or received by CBP personnel in the course of their employment is subject to the Federal Records Act. Blah, blah, blah. I declare under penalty of perjury. Okay. So that is what we know from their official, I declare under penalty of perjury, sworn statements. Um, I'm sure they will continue to, fight it out in the docket. I'm also not clear from what I've read on the docket in this law enforcement v. law enforcement case as to whether or not they are very clear. They're very clear on evidence preservation. I don't know if Minnesota, BCA, and the Hennepin County Attorney's Office were very clear on access. So they may have to re-up on that. Yeah. So, but other than that, it's just, Republicans continuing to backtrack and Democrats, saying they're not going to vote for the spending bill. Kristi Noem needs to be, fired or impeached. The other thing that I noticed is that there has been no more talk about Democrats going to Minneapolis. And I think it's because, number one, they waited too long. They should have been seriously. I mean, the conversation was happening, but it wasn't happening seriously because there's some bitches. But they should have gone to Minneapolis 2 weeks ago when they killed Renee Good. And put their bodies on the line, basically, and really just had a presence there over the past 2 weeks, and they failed to do that. They didn't seriously start talking about it until Sunday. And then, we've just seen the backlash, Gestapo Greg being pulled out, all of those things. I think they probably demurred on that and are probably not gonna go. They'll probably show up for, memorials and funerals and things like that, which again is too little too late in my book. Donald Trump is holding firm that Kristi Noem will not be fired or step down, but we'll just see how things play out and how damning this gets for them. The fact that this happened on Saturday and it is still dominating every single minute of the 24-hour news cycle says a lot. I didn't come up with it, but it is hilarious because it is accurate. He's so trash. There were some folks trying to jump the gun saying, "Oh, he's no longer commander at large of ICE agents and he's going back to his post in California and then he's going to retire." And then, Homeland Security beat that back and said he's not been demoted. He still is, in charge of ICE agents nationally. I don't really give a shit. Fuck that dude. Forever and a day. Absolutely. The worst person for the job is a provocateur. That's the worst person for the job is a provocateur. And that's what he was. And he clearly was walking around like he was bigger than the program. We all saw it. He's giving Nazi salutes. He's got his fist in the air. He's doing his little photo shoots with his little SS cosplay jacket. You thought you were bigger than the program. You're not bigger than the program. Bovino's name reminds me too much of cows, bovine, so he's cowman to me. Let him be mad cow disease. Mad cow disease. Yeah, that's all evidence of cruelty and crimes against humanity. I think that aside from being rocked in this situation, the shooting, the Second Amendment, the propaganda and misinformation, I think people on the right side of the aisle are rocked, period. I think they're rocked, period. I mean, progressives are rocked. You're watching we've been having this ongoing conversation of white people as a collective just don't get it, and you're watching them in real time, like, have their light bulb moments and put the pieces together, and go back in their minds, and people on the right side of the aisle are doing that too. There are people who are straight up MAGA, who are like, "Maybe I was wrong about the Black Lives Matter movement," because everything they said about Alex Preddy is what we said about everybody who was Black, who was good, just comply. Well, they shouldn't have been doing this, that, and the other. Well, you're supposed to do like, people are like, "Wait a minute. Wait just a goddamn minute." It's a moment where the hypocrisy is too blatant. That's why I said yesterday, I don't care if you get on this channel, talk shit in the chat, you're gonna get banned, leave a comment after the fact, I'm gonna delete it and ban you. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. And if you're serious in your position, you're too stupid to be a part of the adult conversation, and I'm not gonna engage with you. But I just flat out don't believe people who are like, who say Alex Preddy deserved to die. I don't believe you. I don't believe that you believe the words that are coming out of your mouth. I think you have been programmed and you yourself are a lonely, pathetic provocateur who needs to say the most extremes to feel something, to provoke a reaction, and you mistake that for human connectivity and relationship. But I don't believe the words coming out of your mouth. Not only do I know that they're not factual, but I don't believe you in how you present in your existence in this moment on the planet, in this country. I won't debate you. I won't discuss with you. I won't give you any oxygen because I don't believe you. And if you're real serious, which we're not going to debate about, then you are too stupid to talk to me. This is good. The cognitive has been dissonancing. Yes, it has, baby. Yes, it has. The othering isn't working. And it's just like, again, I said this at the beginning of this administration, in January 2025. Um, we have forgotten so much as a collective society. And everything that is going to happen throughout this administration, those are all things that are going to require us to remember or to rediscover the things that we have forgotten, like our power as the people. Policy, law, procedure, the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, pivotal moments in history, things we have forgotten. The class wars, white people have forgotten. I don't know why. I don't know why white people think they're special. This is a rhetorical statement. The majority of you are on the wrong side of the class war. They gonna beat your ass too. They gonna trample over your rights too. They gonna shoot you in the face too. They gonna put their knee on you till you can't breathe and you are begging for your mother to save your life because you know you're about to die too. Y'all done forgot that. That's why you collectively bargained away your ability to strike because you think you're special. Baby, you ain't special. You are just flesh to grind in their machine. We know that. We been done new, as the people say. We still waiting for y'all to catch the fuck up and figure it the fuck out. Cause this is gonna continue until then. It will take nothing less, nothing short of an act of God or the overpowering will of the people to disband this system that we got here. You know why we hold people in detention centers that are inhumane? Because Democrats and Republicans haven't done shit about it for the past ever. These people are being held in deplorable conditions. You funded them. You ain't done shit about them. They were deplorable when Biden was president. They were deplorable when Obama was president. They were deplorable when Clinton was president. This is in America, codified into law. Yes, it is America. She might remember when they tried to protect their mountain, protect their workers, protect their men, and big industry went in there and killed them, took their mountains, stripped it of resources, and then left, put dogs on them. with the law right by their side. Yeah, go check with your Mima. And then there's Nicki Minaj. Let me get to an official article. Alex Weprin, The Hollywood Reporter. Nicki Minaj and Marty Supreme actor Kevin O'Leary set to join Trump at launch event for the Trump accounts. Excuse me. The U.S. Treasury Department is planning a star studded summit Wednesday tied to the launch of Trump accounts. And The Hollywood Reporter has learned that rapper Nicki Minaj, Marty Supreme, and Shark Tank star Kevin O'Leary, and Curb Your Enthusiasm star and spouse of Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Cheryl Hines, are all slated to join President Trump and Secretary Scott Bessent at the event. Star studded. Star studded. Nicki Minaj, Kevin O'Leary, I don't know who that is. Cheryl Hines, I do know who that is. Star studded. Okay. Trump accounts are a new type of tax advantaged individual retirement account for children that parents, guardians, employers, and other donors can contribute to, and were created in last year's One Big Beautiful Bill Act. You know, the bill that stripped your health care? That one? Yeah. The specific details of the summit remain under wraps for now, though Trump and Bissett are both scheduled to deliver remarks, and it will be streamed on X. Oh, yeah, that always goes well. It will also include policy briefings and expert discussions, per the Treasury Department. The summit will convene senior administration officials, everyday Americans, and key stakeholders to outline how Trump accounts work, discuss projected economic impacts, and emphasize the administration's commitment to expanding financial opportunity for American families, the department says. Other participants in the summit will include the conservative influencer Isabel Brown, political consultant Alex, I don't know who that is, Ted Cruz, Michael Dell, and White House Press Secretary KKK Caroline Leavitt. The event will have significantly more star power than a typical Treasury Department rollout, underscoring the department's desire to draw attention to the accounts. In fact, Bassett has previously said in a radio interview that there will be a commercial touting the Trump accounts during next month's Super Bowl, shortly after the national anthem. The celebrities involved all have some conservative bona fides, with Hines, of course, married to a senior member of the Trump administration, and O'Leary a frequent commentator on economic issues on TV. Minaj, meanwhile, has been more outspoken about her politics in recent months, including an appearance at Turning Point USA's America Fest last month, where she was interviewed. Is that what that was? By Erica Kirk. I have the utmost respect and admiration for our president. I don't know if he even knows this, but he's given so many people hope. That's a quote from Nicki Minaj. Yeah. So Nicki Minaj, MAGA's hip hop pedo protector and white Christian savior, is hawking Trump accounts. Mhm. Mhm. Hey, it's a gig economy. It's a gig economy. Bad, bad. I'm just scrolling my live blogs, 'cause you never know. Oh, Nicki, Nicki, Nicki. As I said, I've done enough Nicki scripted videos. This isn't gonna garner another one from me. She's not worth the fucking stretching my brain would have to do to come up with another one. I'm sure she's gonna do something in her new MAGA pedo protector position, that is more outrageous than this. Oh yeah, we can talk about this. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it now, as a matter of fact. Oh, god damn it. Kanye apology. I don't know why it's not pulling up your comment. There we go. Um, Border Patrol just shot somebody in Arizona. The Santa Rita Fire District responded to the shooting. A person who was wounded has been transferred by medical helicopter to a regional trauma center. The theme of the day, honestly, has been since early this morning, bitch, shut the fuck up. And this falls right in line with it. It started with Melania Trump. I want peace. I'm calling for peace. My husband who wants the peace. Bitch, if you don't shut the fuck up, titties are revoked for everybody today, especially Kanye. We are not a monolith. Oh, you're not looking forward to her movie is premiering this week? Aren't you excited? Aren't you excited? So it turns out, y'all, we kept saying it was a 40 million documentary. It turns out it's a $75 million documentary. Okay. Amazon paid to produce it and then they bought it. That's total $75 million. couch cushion change, okay? You're not looking forward to her movie? You're not excited? So bad. The streaming bots are gonna be real tired because they're gonna have some heavy, 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 heavy lifting. I don't believe a fucking word this man says. I don't believe nothing Kanye West says. I think it is all self-serving. Apparently, he has an album coming out. I don't give a shit what he says. I don't believe him. That ad was expensive to take out, I can tell you that. Jesus Christ. No, baby. The bad publicity for Melania's movie is the fact that the director, okay, is a sexual harasser and is in the Epstein files, half naked with a known pedophile. Also, she's had so much, you know why she's had so much plastic surgery? To prevent her from being able to blink twice for help. We all know how he got that mail order bride. Okay? Yes. She's the worst fucking first lady in the history of first ladies. I'll take a drunk and high Nancy Reagan first. Also, the fact that it stars Melania and she's married to the devil. Don't nobody give a fuck. Not one, not one dookie is cared for that woman. That trafficked woman. Or her stupid fucking documentary. This dumbest shit ever. I did say that. I forget all the time, and I'm not even mad about it. I'm not even mad. I forget all the fucking time that we have a first lady. And then this bitch had the nerve to fix her fucking fingers this morning. I'm calling for the peace. I want the peace. Bitch, shut the fuck up. But yeah, I don't believe anything Kanye says. I think Kanye is self-serving. I think he is too far gone. There have been too many years. It's not like this was a few weeks of losing his mind and pulling himself back on track. This has been years of Kanye being a misogynistic piece of shit, a xenophobic piece of shit. I mean, I could just go on and on and on and on and on. The fact that I had to defend Kim Kardashian with my whole fucking chest because he's such a piece of shit and I believe women. I'm also mad about that because fuck her. Can't stand Kim Kardashian or her entire black cosplaying fucking family. Can't stand them. Let Kanye do a decade of good works. No crazy public statements, no crazy fucking antics. Let him do a decade of that and then circle back to me and we can chat then. But I've said it. I've said, but if I am in your accountability chapter, guess what chapter I'm not in? Your redemption chapter. I'm not in that chapter. I'm not there. No, I'm not. I was in the Kanye accountability chapter. I'm not in the Kanye redeem himself chapter. Fuck him. And one of the ways that I know that he's still drunk on himself is that he doesn't even have enough perspective to understand that a full page ad in the paper doesn't mean a fucking thing. I half expect him to get on social media and say, "I took a full page ad out in the Jews' paper, in the Jews' favorite paper. I took it. You know how much that cost? You know how much money they made off of me? I'm waiting for that moment to happen." Nothing saying it still can't. It still won't. At some point in time, he gonna point out that he paid the Jews for a full. Fuck Kanye for one reason or another. Fuck Kanye. For me, the default is always the misogyny. Give him a decade of good works, no scandals, no crazy shit. We can talk. I wish him well on his journey. Leave us the fuck alone. I didn't even bother to read it because there's nothing that Kanye West could say in writing. There's nothing Kanye West couldn't convince me to his face that he's sorry, that he's lost his mind, the only thing that will prove to me that Kanye West has changed is a decade of good works. I don't fall for people's words. Baby, I'm old. I also don't focus on people's potential. I'd be married to a sorry motherfucker today if I did. No, I'm gonna have to focus on who you are. And then it always defaults to the misogyny for me. That's the oldest, longest running theme. I got no love for Kanye. Fuck Kanye. And then there's that. All you doing is just throwing money at the problem and thinking that you can magic wand it away so people will buy your music. Fuck you and your music. It's not that good. You're not a genius. You're not special. You're not required. He also thought he was bigger than the program and that we would just love and adore him forever. We have no fucking standards. White lives matter. Remember that? Slavery was a choice. Remember that? Where's the full page apology for that? Fuck Kanye. See, now I'm getting mad. Called one of Beyonce's kids retarded? Fuck Kanye. I prefer the regular Raisin Bran, not the Raisin Bran Crunch, but it is solid. Agors, stop. I'm getting mad too. I'm getting mad too. Okay, well, let's flip to something else that I was like, I don't know what the fuck is wrong with people, but baby, we go switch conversations. I'm gonna explain to you why women keep a dick in the drawer instead of putting up with you motherfucking men out there in the real world. Let's talk about Murphy Brown. We had a conversation in I said what the fuck I said. We had a conversation in last night's live, just a meandering conversation. I don't even know how we got on the topic, but we started talking about old TV shows. And Murphy Brown came up. Oh, baby, I got a story for you. Because somebody left a comment this morning and I took a screenshot like this is in case they deleted it. I was like, I need a screenshot of this because this is evidence of why women keep a dick in the drawer rather than putting up with you motherfuckers in 2026. Have you not learned your lesson? So last night we had a conversation about old television shows, just a meandering end of the live conversation, and we brought up a lot of good ones, a lot of really, really good ones. And Murphy Brown came up. And this morning, I put out a short from the live, and I included some historical images so folks could be real clear about who and what I was talking about. But the chat was in the know because y'all ain't dumb. And even for those of you who weren't in the know, you were like, oh, I know of the show. What happened? Right? So we had a great conversation about this. The fact that Murphy Brown was a television show about a woman played by Candace Bergen, about a single woman who was a nightly newscaster, ran the desk, right? This was a groundbreaking television show. And I'm going to tell you why I think it had one of, if not the greatest moment in network television ever. Anyway, the character, Murphy Brown, is a single, fully grown woman on this show, right? And she runs the nightly news desk. She gets pregnant. She's single. She has a baby. This became an explosion in the United States of America. The vice president, Dan Quayle, who can't spell to save his life, went after her. The whole thing, it was like typical, conservative outrage. Think of the children. What kind of image is this? Here she is on the front page of the New York Times. And all they're doing, this is in 1992. This was a national, lengthy conversation in the country. This character who was single and had multiple partners throughout the show became pregnant and had a baby as a single woman. I posted a short about it. Now let me find this stupid fucking comment that I got. I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? I talk about my age so much. I know people are sick and tired of me saying I'm 48 years old, but people come and go, and new people come all the time, and black don't crack. And I often feel it's important to let motherfuckers know I'm from that Gen X. Okay. Analog and digital. Don't play with me. I'm not going to tell you who said it, but the comment is there. So, and so is my response. Is plural. And this is why women keep a dick in the drawer. You have to be over 40 to remember Murphy Brown. I suspect, because this motherfucker don't know, because he doesn't have access to the channel demographics, which we have discussed before. I suspect most of your audience have no idea about the show. For my generation, the comparison would be Maude. and the abortion episode that got people in an uproar. Mind you, this is on a 44-second video, a short from a lengthy conversation that we had last night. And this motherfucker, who is a regular, because YouTube tells me that's the first thing I did was say before I respond, who the fuck is this? Oh, it's a subscriber and somebody who has commented multiple times before. I said, okay, I'm going to read it to you again. You have to be over 40 to remember Murphy Brown. I suspect most of your audience have no idea about this show. For my generation, the comparison would be Maude and the abortion episode that got people in an uproar. First of all, child, I don't know who the fuck you're talking about. The irony of the ageism. I don't know who the fuck you're talking about. Second of all, you don't know a fucking thing about the demographics of this channel. Third of all, we weren't talking about Murphy Brown in comparison to any goddamn thing. We were talking about Murphy Brown. The only comparison that was mentioned was when I said it was like Tipper Gore going after NWA the way these white men went after this character. Character, not even a real person, a character on television. Why are you telling me what the fuck to talk about? Why are you telling me I suspect your audience? You don't know a fucking thing about the demographics of my audience. You didn't even bother to tap into the full conversation to see the context. Didn't give a shit. You want me to pull up a different reference that I don't know a fucking thing about because your generation, I don't know what generation you're from. I don't give a fuck and I don't cater to your goddamn generation. Yes, this is just me unloading on a commenter because, baby, I've been holding up pent up shit for weeks, months, a year. Solid. And then why are you talking to me? Why are you talking to me? Why are you telling me what you suspect about my people when I know about my people? Why are you telling me what I should talk about to be more relatable to you? Who the fuck is you? Rhetorical question. What an ageist ass fucking comment. Murphy Brown is for people over 40. Motherfucker, I'm almost 50. This is why I keep saying I'm almost 50. I'm 48 years old. Who the fuck are you talking to? Rhetorical question. I suspect your audience. What? What? I didn't mean to offend you or your audience. That wasn't my intention. No, apparently your intention was to tell a woman who is almost 50 years old what she should and should not be talking about so that she can be more relatable to her audience, even though you don't know who the hell her audience is. Stay in your lane. Also, I have no idea what show you are talking about, and I don't care. I literally said, what the fuck is wrong with you? Facts. Hey, I said, what? Why are you talking? Why are you talking and why are you talking to me? Is this what I got to put up with if I want some dick? No, no, not even your good credit will make up for the unnecessaries coming out of your mouth. Jesus Christ. I just needed to rant on that because I was like, I looked at that comment. I was like, why are you talking to me? What the whole fuck? Oh, Jesus Christ. You know what you should be talking about? Sir, I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit what you think I should be talking about. The better comparison. What the fuck? This is user error on so many different fronts. User error on so many different fronts. First of all, you got to be careful when you comment on a short clip of a longer video. You might want to click through, see what was the broader context. I'm shooting off the hip talking about Murphy Brown and reaching for. And if my audience doesn't know about Murphy Brown, why the fuck would they know about what happened to NWA and 2 Live Crew with Tipper fucking Gore? Nonsensical. But let's get back to this is the baddest bitch on television. So keep in mind that the character of Murphy Brown ran a nightly network news desk. That's what her character did. She was Tom Brokaw. Had great pantsuits, perfect hair. Okay, she ran the desk. So in the real world, okay, so let me back up one step. So therefore, on the show, they talked about made up things, and then they kind of every once in a while would fuse in or be inspired by real things happening in the world. When this character, unwed, had a baby, and the nation's white conservatives got their panties in a bunch over it, they wrote it into the show. Do you understand me? They wrote it into the show. They wrote it into the show. And do you know how the show responded? Through the show. They wrote it in as if it were real. And then used all of the real commentary happening in the real world against Murphy Brown in the show. And then her character addressed it as if it were actually happening to her in the show. That's the best fucking television ever, 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 ever. Ever, 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 ever. What you should be talking about, boy, if you don't sit the fuck down and learn this history lesson from an old lady. Badass. Badass, badass, bad ass. Badass. That is one of the most genius things to ever happen in all of television history. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. They wrapped their arms around the entire national discourse and brought it into the show. And so her character finds out the White House is talking about you. This conservative group is talking about you. There's an uproar. They're demanding that you be pulled off air because people were filing FCC complaints demanding that the show get pulled off the air for this depiction of an unwed woman having a baby. and it became a crisis within the show to have to deal with and address. Magnificent television. I was alive for it. I'll talk about it as long as I wanna talk about it. I also wanna say as a caveat, thank you to everybody who straightened out my fuzzy childhood memories of John Lithgow in The Twilight Zone versus Robert Shatner in the original episode, Terror at 20,000 feet or whatever it was. Thank you for clarifying that for me. I went and looked at a clip and so you know how childhood memories are. Things get muddled together. So, I've seen both, but I didn't see Robert Shatner's depiction until after I had seen the original Star Trek. So that was a what the fuck is acting moment for me because Robert Shatner was I mean, that was award-worthy acting, as it was for John Lithgow as well. But thank you for straightening out my muddled childhood memories of which came first and what I saw when. That was later, but it was Ellen wasn't an international her character was not an internationally famous, right, comedian. So, they couldn't pull the backlash into the show the way Murphy Brown did. They could allude to it, but, this was they pulled it word for word into the show, and just that's how they primarily, of course, there were also, interviews, and I mean, this was the hot button topic for a while in the United States. So, because you had people who were saying she's promoting promiscuity. And what about the family? And, that's not a respectable depiction of what an American family should be. And a child needs a father and blah, 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 blah. Right. So they just pulled it directly into the show. You are hilarious. You are hilarious. I watched the Ellen episode live too. Mhm. Yeah. Again, these were back in the days where, television was network. Cable was either non-existent or an exception, not the rule. So, it took a long time before cable even really started, before it had content that a solid demographic even wanted to see on a regular basis. Um, but yeah, that was back in the day when network television pulled major numbers. You got 50 million people sitting 50 million televisions across America all watching the same thing. The only way to get those kind of numbers now is related to sports. So, I remember the potatoes. Yeah, Murphy Brown was smart, witty, wonderful television. It really was. It was really good. Mhm. She did. Yeah, and we had cable early, and it was like, you know, only active like the channels themselves. Cable was on all the time, but the channels didn't have enough content to even exist for 24 hours. You know what I mean? They didn't even have 24 hours for the content to run. So, yeah, I still remember our first cable controller for the television. It was brown and big. It was like, mind you, I'm a child, but it was big. It was brown and it had a cord to the box and different switches on each side. There were numbers at the top and there were numbers at the bottom, and you had to make sure that you had it flipped to the right, to the right row, and then there was just buttons. It was so crazy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I embrace my age for that reason. I mean, I was born firmly into analog and saw the advent of digital through my own home. So I consider myself very, very, very lucky. We had a computer probably before anybody else, except for the people that my dad worked with in our neighborhood, probably also had computers. We had internet before anybody else, except for the people that my dad worked with who also lived in our neighborhood. Mhm. Yeah. So, I we were very, very, very lucky as kids that technology was immediate in our house and accessible and exciting and interesting. And as I've shared, my dad was an engineer, so he would bring things home from work when they were working on what is now the modern fetal heart monitor. My dad just brought home the beta from work and tested it on his best friend's wife who was pregnant, who was our neighbor. She came over. A bunch of nerds came over with their pocket protectors. She laid down on the living room floor, she had some pillows propped up, they strapped it to her and turned it on, and there just a bunch of nerds gathered around her waiting to see it print out on the little paper. I remember that. You can't do that now. The FDA doesn't want you taking things home to see if they work, but yeah, I remember things like that. Mhm. Oh, I remember this. I definitely remember this. TV used to end. Yep, they would play the national anthem, and then that was it until TV started again the next day. Oh my god, you had the box. Oh my god, you had the box. At some point in time, Imma find a picture of the box because it is something to behold. It was a monstrosity, and you really had to know how to use it or you wouldn't be able to find your channel. Oh, man, amazing. Yes, cable had no commercials. That was one of the big draws forever, and it was one of the it's the television battle old as time, right? Ted Turner came out and said that television without commercials is the American people breaching their contract with broadcast companies. We provide you programming, and in exchange, you watch these trash commercials that we make money off of. Yeah, it was a huge, huge to do. Cable had no commercials. It was a beautiful time. It was a beautiful, 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 amazing time. Crazy, crazy. Well, my dad had a hand in creating them and the pull socks and a bunch of other things. Yeah. Initially for astronauts, and then, that's a real niche. So they branded, they expanded down to, the planet Earth and just regular good old hospital equipment. Yes, before DVR, baby, you had to set that VCR, which means you had to learn how to program it, and that was a whole thing. Programming the VCR, a whole thing. Recording over somebody else's tape, that'll get the police called out to your house. People will brawl. "Did you tape over my—" Those are the beginnings of a fight, a physical fight, especially in the '80s. We definitely physically fighting. Some piece of furniture is getting broken. Mom might scream at us to take it outside. We're definitely taking it outside. Because you recorded over my what the fuck ever with your stupid what the fuck ever. Oh, it fight, physical fight for sure. We also had a Betamax. Yeah, we had a Betamax. We had an 8-track player. Um, we had a record player. I had a my own little 45 record player because they were basically, you could get them in the toy aisle. My brothers had their own little 40. Everybody had their own record collection. I remember graduating from just little, largely like Disney 45s because Disney had the jams. I don't care what anybody says, to full size records. Whitney Houston was one of my first um, records. But all of us as little kids had records. One of my brother's first records was Twisted Sister. I hated that fucking album art so goddamn much. I hated that album entirely, be perfectly honest with you. I now love it. I now love it because I understand the historical significance of Twisted Sister, who was also persecuted by Tipper Gore and all the duddies clutching their pearls over the messages in music. Um, but we're not gonna take it. That's Twisted Sister, baby. Yeah, see, I had 45s before Thriller came out. I remember when Thriller came out. I remember us gathering at my grandpa's house, the whole family, extended family too, because I'm pretty sure my grandpa's house was the first house to have cable. Um, yeah, I'm pretty sure our grandpa's house was the first house to have cable, because otherwise we would have stayed at home and watched it at home. Um, but anyway, yeah. We had this record. That would be a part of my dad's collection, but we had this record. I remember it being played often. I'm really grateful that between everybody in the family that I was raised in, we had a wide array of musical tastes in the house, and we listened to everything because no music was bad in our house. And it's crazy to think that in a lot of households, that's a radical idea, but there wasn't there wasn't really anything that you couldn't watch or listen to in my house growing up. And that's why we had Twisted Sister and NWA and Roberta Flack and Paul Simon, all being played on the same day. Yeah, music is great. It might have been. Yeah, it might have been. I think it was Columbia something. I wound up in that everybody and they mama wound up with a collections ticket because of this company. No, the song existed before Tipper. Yeah, the song existed before Tipper, but people really demonized that song because they felt that it was calling for a rebellion and a disregard for societal norms and rules. It was a reflection of the time. The '80s were extremely rough economically. From '75 to fucking '87, it was rough. Um, so the song existed before that, and that's why it was called out, because it was seen as counter to a safe and civilized society and encouraging youth in particular to disregard societal norms and rules, etc. Now, there were some things where it was like, "Get your headphones," but we were still allowed to listen to it. There was nothing that was taken or thrown away or you can't listen to that. That also includes comedy records as well. So, there were some things where it was like, "Hey, put your headphones on," and boy, were those some big ass fucking headphones. Um, but we could still listen to it. I don't think anything was banned in our house, and I think the first and potentially only thing that I banned in my house with my children was Chris Brown. I think that was potentially the first and only thing. Otherwise, if I didn't wanna hear it, put your headphones on. But I was real strict about first of all, just speaking for myself, as being Gen X, the music that I listened to and therefore my kids listened to by default was music of my era. I never fully moved into what was happening at the time after I had children. I'm still listening to The Roots, the Fugees, neo soul, right? So they're getting a lot of that. So they're hearing some, you know, um contemporary rap when they're with their friends or whatever, but not necessarily in our home. So they developed musical tastes along that line. Obviously, like the contemporaries and, the what's the popular song that's happening, for their peers in the moment, and had their little favorite artists or whatever. Thank God Chris Brown was never one of them. I never had to pry his poster out of somebody's sobbing hands. Um, but if there was something that just as a parent would annoy me, put your headphones on. I don't wanna hear that, or turn it down or whatever. Um, but the only thing that I just said an outright "fuck no" to was Chris Brown, um, because there was a bigger lesson to be told, and I shielded nothing from them with regard to what it was that he had done, and I didn't wanna fucking hear it, and we don't support it. So and then they grew up and left. So after that, you listen to whatever the fuck you wanna listen to. Or they grew up and didn't leave, but you're grown, and I can't tell you what to listen to or what not to listen to, but you're gonna use headphones because I don't wanna hear that shit. Yeah, Outkast and, uh, shit, anybody from back in the day, pretty much, is what my kids, grew up on. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, we had Queen Latifah's debut album in our house. Like, I remember when rap started in terms of being something that you could see. I remember when MTV started. I remember when it launched. Obviously, I remember Mike. I remember the first episode of Yo MTV Raps. That was revolutionary television. Um, but yeah, to be alive for and actually witness all of those little milestones is a fun sequence of memories to have. Yeah, my grandfather had a very extensive jazz vinyl collection, so music was just always a thing. There were instruments, we all played something. At school, we were all in band. So, yeah, good on them for that. I don't know how much, like, intentional thought or effort my parents put into those decisions, but that was the culture of the house. Worked out pretty well. Okay, guys, I gotta go. I gotta go get dressed for a meeting that I got coming up shortly. But it was good to see you and hang out with you. I may be back later on today, depending on how the day goes and what develops throughout the day. But it was good to hang with you. Good to get those insights into what's going on, at least on paper, with the investigation. And I'm sure we will continue to learn more over the coming hours and days. And I will be watching the dockets for updates. I hope you have a good rest of the day. Shout out to the replay gang. And I will see you all very soon. Peace.